All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another live stream. Today, we are going to be talking about OLED by force and the next steps that we are forced to take as consumers. I want to thank all you guys for coming out tonight, and we're going to get started by answering some of your questions. But first, we are going to say our salutations to everyone here. So, Anna Bang, what's going on? What's up? We've got Craig. Thank you for being a member and one of our most valuable members here. I appreciate you for, again, just all the support that you've given the community. And I appreciate pretty much everybody, obviously, but I want to say a shout out to Cardell. Thanks for stopping by tonight. We've got AOA. What's up? You said, hey, how are you, Big? I'm doing pretty good. We've got Bill. What's going on, man? Howdy. We've got Jagan. You said road to 100K. I certainly hope so this year, at least by the end of this year. We've got D.O. Clark. What's going on? You said cranking out the videos. Absolutely. Anna Bang opens it up with the first question for the night, asking, will you ever do a review of a phone screen? I swear my iPhone 13 Max outperforms every damn panel out there, and it's 1300 nits, I think. I wish there would be a 65 doing that. So I think in terms of phones, it gets a little tricky. More or less, when you get into a niche, there's kind of like an unwritten law that you kind of have to live where your niche is. I've tried to do things outside like tablet reviews and even phone reviews, but like few people really care. It's just kind of one of the unfortunate things. I really don't know what it is either. It's like when you start doing one thing in YouTube, it's like everyone kind of only cares for that one thing, right? So like I see guys that try to do like scooter reviews or like projector reviews or like they try to cover the wide spectrum of all things in the technology space, and nobody cares because, of course, we've already got like the Marquise Browns and the iJustines and the people who are already doing that. So like one more person doing that, people kind of disconnect from that. So it is pretty difficult to do. So that's why I usually try to stay away from phone screens because it's just kind of like, well, I could test it and bring a technical aspect to it. I don't really know that many people would kind of appreciate that kind of thing because, I mean, let's be real. Calibrations are like so niche that most people like never have them done. So I don't think that that'd be enough to like be like, oh, wow, this super technical thing I totally needed to know about a phone. Like most people just want to like get on Instagram or Snapchat or something, right? So I don't know if I would really do too much, but it would be cool to see more sizes, and it would be cool to see. Wouldn't it be crazy if Apple did like a TV? That'd be wild if they got into the TV game. So yeah, I think things like that. Though I'm sure we would have to pay for the power cable, so never mind. Anyway, moving on from that, we've got Yui. What's going on? You said hello. Enoch, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being our long-term member of over 24 months. You are one of our longest members here, and I appreciate you, and I acknowledge that number one Brandon Honesty badge. I mean, it's so cool to see these long-term members come out, so I really do appreciate it, man. Now you say, what's good, Quantum? I saw the community tab when you put the comparison between the Q90C and the Q8FN. Yes. So it's basically like unfair. It's like the strong beating up on the weak, if you will. The contrast ratio, because it's IPS, is just so bad on the Q90C that there really truly is no point whatsoever in trying to compare the Q8FN. It's actually disrespectful to the Q8FN to even do so. The colors are better because the quantum dots are wrapped in metal and they're not diluted with the ultra wide viewing angle and then IPS on top of that. So it would look more like I'm intentionally doing something. And hell, I can't even get everybody to kind of get on the same page that blooming is a bad thing and maybe we should talk about that without having to explain it across like 4 or 5 different videos. There's always like some rebuttal. It's like, well, now, wait a minute. You could be playing with ISO. You could be playing with this. It's like, can you stop for 2 seconds, get out of your safe space and your feelings, and understand that these TVs are products? I am not here to be the boogeyman of TV reviews. I'm just here to give you information. You either want it or you don't, kind of thing, right? And if you don't, and you just want to hear like, hey, this is a great product for all the reasons why it's great, you probably belong in North Korea because you only want to hear propaganda. I'm not here to do that, right? So I think in that aspect, it's one of those things that gets a little difficult because I want to show the Q8FN and I want to show the Q90C side by side, but I also know that the backlash that would come after that would just be like, I don't even want to deal with it. It'd just be a pain in my ass, frankly. So it's hard because I want to, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna waste the time. Now Anna Bang says, Yeah, it makes sense to stay in niche from that standpoint. Yeah, it's unfortunate. I wish I could do more. I'm not gonna lie. Like there are days where I'm just like, reviewing TVs, especially like the one I just recently reviewed for a perfect example, right? I got all the content together. I'm working on like, what we're gonna do, what we're gonna talk about. And then it's like you put up one video and then you've got people trying to like discredit you because now you're in the way of affiliate commissions. And then now you've got to try to speak to those lies and you got to try to show people that you're not crazy and you're not some jerk. They're actually lying. Look for this blooming in their video at this point, here, and here. And it's like, there's a lot that goes into it. So it's like to have to do that in an entirely different niche would just be absolutely exhausting. And so, yeah, I don't even get into it for sure. Cardell, what's going on? You said cell phones have plateaued, TV panels haven't. I don't know, man. It's kind of hard because it feels like with the introduction of QD OLED, it's kind of like they're selling the same kind of thing, right? Deep black levels, brightness, and color. But like we've been celebrating that for years on LEDs. They just kind of switched it from LED. Now they're doing it on OLED. And I think that's like we got the viewing angles finally, which is great. But I don't know. It would be great to see actual innovation instead of things going backwards. But that's kind of why I'm doing this, right? Like, because I'm noticing, like, TVs aside, right? We look at gaming, movies, TV shows, pretty much every product out there. Everything's kind of like taking a landslide backwards, and it's just kind of like, well, you're going to get some scaled down entry level garbage and you're going to be happy about it. And that's the part that gets really tough because it's like, if only, if only everyday people like you and me could hold these kinds of people accountable, we would win. Because I don't know about you, but I'm tired of like when I'm like, oh great, I'm gonna buy a new phone, and then I'm like, what do you mean I don't have an SD card slot? The hell are you talking about? That should have been in there like by law. Like what do you mean? Like I mean, obviously you can't force people to make products, but you get what I'm saying. It's basic things. The X85 upscaling is entry level. I wouldn't expect a whole lot out of it. They do it in a way that's kind of, I don't know, deceptive. They make you think that it's some grand experience, but it's in line with what Sony has been doing for years. It's nothing truly special. What's going on, noob, initial, Anitas? I don't know how to say it. I'm sorry, man. I suck at these names. You say, hey, Quantum, hey, chat, and what's going on, man? I don't want to call you noob. I feel like that's rude. But hey, what's going on, man? Mark, what's going on? You said, thanks for the honest review of the X95K 65 inch. I bought that disaster of a turd and returned it a few days later. Disaster blooming bought a TCL 646 65 inch for $699 at Best Buy on clearance. And you're all the better for it. I mean, time's out, folks. I mean, these so-called budget brands from China are really stepping their game up to unprecedented levels. They're not playing with anybody. They're not asking you if they can show up at the table. Hisense and TCL are just like coming into the room, chewing bubble gum, throwing their feet on the table, and they're just like, deal with it. I'm here now. It's beautiful to watch because now the response from the big three has almost been like a panic, right? Hence the name of the title. It's kind of been like, well, we can't compete at these prices because we know they want to charge $2,100, $3,000, $5,000, $4,000. They want us to pay a lot of money for their names. Well, they can't do that when we have TVs like the Hisense U8 series, right? Or the TCL 6 series constantly giving us deep black levels. I mean, TCL has their problems, but it is 100% on par with what we've seen out of Samsung's $2,100 TVs, and you only pay $600 for it. Like, why would you ever spend more when the same experience or better can be found on TCL or Hisense? Now, that's where the manufacturers of these big three are like kind of sitting here like, well, you know what? We're just going to make OLED and everybody has to go OLED. And if they don't, then they're going to get a crappy set. That way we kind of try to eat away at the market share of these Chinese manufacturers, thus for keeping our space in the world here of television creation. And for me, it's really annoying because it's like you can make a solid killer LED line for those who want it and a killer OLED line. I think both customers exist, and there's a reason why both exist. For example, if you're a long-term gamer and you're somebody that loves playing static games, for example, you do a lot of checkers online, or you do a lot of card games, or you're the kind of person that wants to game, fall asleep for a couple hours, and then wake up right back where you were, you should be able to do that without having a problem. But unfortunately, if you have an OLED, that's not necessarily advised. And I think that's where we now have to have a conversation as to like, if they're going to force everybody. I saw this comment, by the way. I don't know who made it. So if this is your comment, shout out to you. Okay. I saw this comment the other day where it was like, essentially, if you're going to force everybody to more or less adopt OLED, then you had better put it in the warranty. Because if it's so rare and it never happens, why are you so afraid to back it then? You know, all this 2 times efficient, all this like, hey, we've made it more powerful. Why are you not backing it in your warranty then? And that's a very good statement. I think every single OLED created should come with at least a 5-year warranty on burn-in. I mean, after all, they've solved the problem, right? What's the issue? And I agree with that wholeheartedly. Now again, I love my OLED TVs and my LED TVs alike, but I do think that there is a conversation that needs to be happening about this for sure. Now, we've got what is it? Satchel? Sacuel? I don't know if that's how you say it. You said, wait a minute. We've got Alex. What's going on, man? You said, hey, what do you think about the C3 and the G3? I think the C3 is going to be the bread and butter model this year for OLED, and I think the G3 is going to remain incredibly niche. They're going to try to sell you on the brightness and stuff, but people, come on, let's be real. It's always fun to watch YouTubers jump up and down and be like, oh my God, I got a 78, an 85, 100-inch TV. But what we're going to do with our dollars is going to be far more practical, right? We're going to be looking at the $1,500 to $1,000 price range. We're going to be buying practical TVs, right? Maybe even lower. We're going to be looking at $500, $600, right? We aren't looking at $5,000. Who the hell has that to waste on a TV that the moment next year rolls around is going to be replaced and immediately valueless? I have no idea. I don't need, that's why I have a policy where for me, TVs never go above $2,000, $3,000 tops of the tops of the tops, not a penny more than $3,000, because truly they just aren't worth that much. Next year, they're literally void. So I think that's also one of the problems. But I think the C3 is going to, again, be the bread and butter model. G3 is going to be that model that all the digital trends of the world, the HDTV test type guys are going to be like, oh my God, this is so accurate. It's amazing. You must buy it. And then we're going to be sitting here like, yeah, but the C3 is pretty good too. And they're going to be like, yeah, I mean, it's all right. I mean, it's okay. But I mean, like, if you're a real man, you've got money, you're going to go ahead and you're going to buy this one. And I think that's the game they play every year. But I think don't get sucked into that. Buy what's practical for you. Buy based off of that little magical list of all the things that your last TV didn't have, and you'll win. So I think that's what I think about that. What's going on? Hey, wait a minute, Alex, right? Aren't you the guy I sold the C10 to? I can't remember. I'm pretty sure I sold the C10 to you. I keep remembering it that way. Is that what happened? Because I remember meeting you locally at the Best Buy, I think, and I sold that. Were you that guy? I keep trying to remember who that was. I was just talking about it the other day with my wife, and I'm like, who was that guy that we sold the C10 to? I think that was you, bro. So if that's you, let me know for sure, because like it's still in my mind here. All right, Alexis, what's going on? You said, hey, homie, you were right about the Hisense. Love it at 75 inches. Thanks, bro. Anytime, man. I'm here to help. G3 has MLA question mark. Yes, they do. By law for HDMI 2.1. I don't know if there's any law that requires HDMI to be 2.1, but hey, you know, power to you, I guess. It's all good, bro. Noob works. I feel so bad calling you noob, though, man. I really do. It feels like I'm being rude, you know? We've got, oh my God. I'm not even going to say your name. Like, it's not that your name is bad, but if I say your name, it could be like deep faked or something and people are going to be saying something. So I'm just going to say for all intents and purposes, let's just say Boomer. Okay. I won't say the next part. It's a funny name, but it could be construed the wrong way. So we've got, there's no SD card because it uses storage to leverage you to get. Yeah, I know. And that's one of the things like when I have my Samsung S22 Ultra, I kind of get angry about because it's like I'm sitting here with my phone and then they go, would you like to upgrade to our cloud service? No, I would like you to add an SD card slot. Otherwise, you won't get a dime. Like that's how I kind of work. But it does work on people because I guess they get cornered and they start feeling the pressure and they're like, well, twist my arm. I'm not one of those people. If you really push me into a corner, then I just bare fangs and I'm like, no, you can get out of here with that. What 8K content out there is what 8K content is out there to watch despite like natural documentaries? Not an owner of an 8K TV screen, by the way, if ever. So far that I know, nothing more than like independent films that aren't very good at all. None of your mainstream movies are. Of course, they make claims that they'll take those movies and upscale them to 8K, but again, they did the same thing with the 4K res. They were like, oh, we can just upscale everything. So I would not expect anything fantastic with that at all. It's just 8K is one of those pipeline, those pipe dream type things. So I wouldn't waste my time on it. China makes the best bootlegs. I mean, I wouldn't know. I don't really buy bootlegs. As far as if you're talking about the Hisense and the TCL, I mean, I really encourage you to put the Hisense and the TCL next to your Sony's, next to your Samsungs, next to your LG LEDs, and you tell me which one looks like the bootleg, because I tell you right now, my UAG will slaughter so many TVs that is going to be coming out later this year that it's not even going to be funny. And it's so funny too, because I kind of have like guys like Tech with KG. Again, no hate towards these people. These are randos on the internet. I don't really care one way or another, but I just take protest when they try to look at me and be like, "Oh, you, the guy who's been here before my channel was created in my first upload. Yeah, you're a problem." It's like, well, no, you're not really coming at it with nothing more than feels. Because, in the same breath that people try to feel like I'm biased towards Hisense, I'll like tear down the U90G and the U7G and be like, their motion is garbage and I'm not really feeling it. And maybe you might, for motion, go with the C1. The C1's amazing. And when I say the C1 is great, then I'll have like a bunch of guys say, oh, you only love LG. Any brand I get behind, it's like a curse. Everybody then magically calls me the poster child for that one brand. It is weird how that works. I don't know, like, where recommending something as a professional, as an expert, now becomes like, oh, you were clearly put up and paid off to say that. It's like, no, dude, like, if you love your money to go the longest, buy this thing that will make you so happy. Otherwise, buy this thing that you won't even know what you're missing out on until somebody shows up with what I told you to buy. It's just kind of like, that's what it is. But I think that's just kind of what it has to be. So as far as bootlegs, that's what I'll say there. What do you think about the Hisense U8K? I'm definitely interested in it. I can't wait to see and test it. They've made strong claims that I will absolutely be holding them to the fire for. Because if you're going to come out and say, like, we are king of all mini LED, you've got to have done something to warrant that claim. And Hisense is saying that with the U8K, so I'm definitely going to be looking. Now, they say, are you going to say, should I hold out for that or pull the trigger on the U8H right now, 65 or 75 inch? I would hold out, because if they're that confident that last year they weren't talking like that, and now they're like, hey, by the way, guys, we're king. We run all this right now. Yeah, everything you see that's mini LED, we beat it. So I'm going to be definitely holding out to see if that holds true. And if not, you can always buy the older model. So, and by the time you get around to buying it, you probably get it at a sale anyway. So it's a win-win. What's going on, Roberto? Thanks for being a member here, brother. You say, hello, Master Q. One question. Do you know if it's important to to power/clean the signal that goes in from the stream to the device to the TV? If they send a poor signal to the TV, will I have a poor image? Well, typically when you're streaming, it's more so dependent upon internet connectivity. I mean, HDMI cables are ones and zeros. People try to tell you like it's something that it's not. But for the most case and scenario, you just want to make sure you have good internet. That's usually what does it. And then from there, 9 times out of 10 is just processing. Because say what you will, but no matter how clean your signal is, you can't like keep a TV that has bad processing in the clear. It's going to always look bad. So you want to focus on good processing, and you want to make sure that you have good internet, and that usually will clean it up. Now, of course, you can always do things with AVRs and stuff like that to try to help your scenario, right? But honestly, those two things have to be usually done at the television level and internet level. Craig, what's going on, brother? You said Vincent's video said the LG C3 and G3, you can't disable TPC or GSR. I mean, frankly, it is what it is. I don't really care about those things too much. I think as long as the universal picture or the global picture looks good and most people are able to, ascertain a proper APL or average picture level or peak luminance level, all that good stuff, I want the luminosity claims more than anything. Because this year, if you go on their website right now, test it out, they are talking about luminosity more than anything. Like almost as if they've reached some groundbreaking achievement, even on the C3. That's what has me shocked. I expected that jargon on the G3, but they're expecting it on the C3. So I want to see if that holds true. Like, I don't really care about all that other stuff. Like, you want to be real. I don't care how accurate it is. I don't care. I don't care. I want it to look good. And if they've better tone mapped what we had before, and they've improved the color red, and they've improved the issues that they've had before that we've had with that, and they've scaled back the motion artifacts that we've seen on the C2, then I'll be happy. I want them to go back to what they did with the C1. I don't know how the C2 got so bad. But I do see a little bit of a red flag with their Alpha 9 Gen 6 chip because they're talking about, like, hey, we've made some improvements, but they're not telling us what they are. And so I'm like, okay, what did you do? It's just like you're just now at this point just naming something. Is this like an iPhone 13, iPhone 14 type scenario, or like did you do something? So we'll have to keep our ear to the ground on that one. We've got Brandon. What's going on? You said genuine question may sound stupid. There's no such thing as a stupid question, man. You say, but why do people want all four HDMI 2.1 ports when realistically you have one console and maybe one receiver at a time? Well, for one, people don't like using their eARC port. That's the first problem. Now, let's say we take that off the table. It's honestly, if I'm being real, like for me personally, how I approach it, it's principle. If I want the ability to have a PS5, an Xbox Series X, my PC, and I just want to like have a soundbar capable of HDMI 2.1, I should be able to do all of that from those ports without having to sacrifice and swap around. And the reason for that is each one of those are different devices, and each HDMI input holds its own settings 9 times out of 10. Now, you can apply it across multiple inputs, but you might need to make certain tweaks, and then you can go in, for example, on a specific HDMI input and say, I only want this one to have these settings. That's very important if you're watching movies. And then on another device, for example, it looks entirely different. Like, for example, the color science between PS5 and Xbox Series X are different. They hold different color options and all kinds of calibration options that are very different. So you don't want to calibrate your PS5 and rock the exact same settings your PS5 had on your Xbox as well. You want something made more specifically to that, especially once you get to some things that might get a little more challenging, like streaming, because that gets wildly different between multiple types of devices, even Blu-ray players. And so therein lies the problem of, like, if you're limited and you're only locked in to one HDMI 2.1 port, then you kind of have to go about it a certain way, especially if, like, for example, I'm Dolby Vision gaming, right, on my Xbox, right? And I want then to go into HDR and I want to do something else. I mean, at 120 FPS on my PS5, and those are two different settings. But then on PC requires entirely different settings to be worked around. So this is where having all four versus only two become a value, because now I don't have to sit here and say, do I sacrifice my PS5 and the settings for that PS5 for the sake of hooking up my PC, for example? No, I can interchange by just going to the proper setup. Like, it's so much more of a convenient thing, and it kind of gets lost on people. Now, again, I'm sure there are workarounds with, again, receivers, AVRs, that kind of thing. But again, ideally, that's the whole idea. But for me, again, it's principle. I just really can't have that not happening. So hopefully that helps. Molium, what's going on, brother? You said hi, Quantum. Hi, chat. I still have my 65-inch Tyson's U8H, and I really enjoy it. Thanks for the recommendation. Anytime, brother. Hey, man, you said, man, honestly, Quantum, you're the main reason I bought the TCL 55-6 series. It's been near perfect since I had it. You said, I wish I had dedicated gaming GUI, but you said it was 650 punches above its weight. The TCL 6 series is definitely good, so no problems there. We've got my aunt's husband buys a low TV for $10,000? That is a waste of money. I would not be doing that. What's going on, Pedro? You say, best Samsung mini LED so far. QN90A, B, C, or D? I mean, I haven't seen D, obviously, but they're not great TVs, man. Now, excuse me here. The live stream cough returns. If it's any consolation, I mean, I think obviously the A was worse than the B, where they made slight improvement to the local dimming, but then from the B to the C, everything just kind of fell apart, and Samsung's like, screw you, go OLED. We're now making OLEDs. So, I don't know, man. It's not looking great. I think the Q9D would probably be even worse. Now, there's a chance that somebody at Samsung might grow a heart and say, you know what, we're billionaires, we're rich, we're multimillionaires, whatever their scenario, right? We don't have to treat the public like this and then start doing the right thing and just giving us what we paid for. Don't think that's going to happen. I think they've invested too much in the OLED production to care. So we'll have to see if the D has blooming as well, as disgusting as we do now. Maybe they go, I don't know, maybe they'll find something lower than IPS and just do that. Who knows? It's pretty petty if you ask me. Alex, you said, "Hi, yes, that's me." I thought that was you because I remember the name. How's the C10 still holding up? Is the C10 still treating you nicely? I don't know. Obviously I sold it, so I have no idea. But that's pretty cool, man. And hope business is doing good, by the way. Hope all is well. We've got. I've seen the Samsung. What is it? S95C had a bin and a dent on the video. Yeah, I mean some have bins and dents, but I haven't seen it in person. Now I've been through three Samsung S95Bs. Not a single one had a bend or a dent, and one of those were a 65 inch. So that should help. Quantum, I know you just said get the C3 over the G3, but what about 5-year warranty on the G3? Would you lean towards the G series because of that? I mean, not really. I think I would lean towards whatever is good for me, whatever does the best. Personally, I never really got on with the G series, like being like, hey, this TV is wildly expensive. Also, you're going to come off of more money for a TV stand. It's like, okay, it wouldn't kill you to put that in the box. Like, come on, man. I think it's just one of those things like they're really hung up on that whole gallery thing to a detriment to themselves. And for me, that's just not going to work. Now, the TV can be amazing. For example, the G2 was absolutely incredible. I think it's beautiful. But also, there kind of lies the question like, if the G2 is already incredible, we've already got the C1 that's incredible. I don't really know like what extra brightness is supposed to do. They really need to have made a significant improvement, if you will, in how highlights are kind of tracking on practical lights and backgrounds and things like that to really justify not taking a sale on the C2, for example, or G2. Because while I think it's okay, I don't know if it's enough of an improvement, if you know what I mean. What's going on, Kimar? Thanks for stopping by. We've got AK Another Gimmick, G277 inch, $2,900. Is it a go or something else? I mean, the G2 looks great, so I mean, it's not like it's not a go. I just think that right now, for that amount of money, you might be able to find something better as time goes on, but it is a gamble, so it's something that you have to be willing to do. But if you're just looking for a solid set now, it is a good set for sure. A95K versus S95B. What do you think is better? Disregarding price, do you think the acoustic surface is any good? Hell no. The acoustic surface technology just cannot touch what Samsung did on their television with that object tracking sound. I tell you right now, and this is like real, this is genuine, okay? Like most of the things I talk about here, I do not use a soundbar. I have it. I literally have a Z9F Sony soundbar right next to my Samsung S95B. And I rather use the internal speakers because the bass, the clarity, the audio, the vocals, it's all just that good. Let that sink in. I'm like literally abandoning my sound system that I paid like $900 for, plus tax or whatever. And I'm just chilling with the TV speakers because they did a good job. Where I had the A95K, it's not that it's bad, but it's not on this level at all. And I've never really been sold on the acoustic surface technology ever. I don't feel like it's firing all over the place like a Bose speaker or something with the 3D technology. I don't feel that. Because I have the A8G Bravia OLED and it has the same acoustic surface technology. And again, I never feel like it's some sort of immersive. It just isn't for me. I definitely would say the S95B in that regard, especially since we're talking specifically in terms of sound. In terms of picture quality, I still say I would prefer the Samsung S95B even after the nerfs, if you would believe it, over the A95K because they exhibit very bad motion. There is no argument to be made, in my personal opinion, because of the near ghosting effect that it has when you look at lower frame rate content like movies, specifically war scenes and things like Avengers. That does not look very good. It just does not. It's jittery. It's not the best. Now, I like how fast the pixel response time is on the Sony. That is much faster than Samsung, but it is faster at a detriment and it doesn't clean up artifacts. So if there's a character in a movie riding past a chain link fence, for example, or they're on a train and the train passes by them in a subway station scene, you're going to see all kinds of artifacts on that Sony. Helicopters in movies and things like that, breaking apart. I've done demo examples on this. It's bad. And that's something that can't be taken away. Now, again, people love it, brilliant, enjoy, but I couldn't really say that I would recommend that for sure. because the S95B does win in that regard. We've got, hey Quantum, I saw your video on AI Picture Pro before on the LG C1, and that video showed that you had AI Picture Pro enabled while on the PS5. When I'm on PS5, AI Picture Pro is grayed out. For that, I would recommend making sure you're out of HDR and, if possible, out of game mode. Those two modes kind of restrict your mobility, if you will, and you're not able to do certain things. So, processing features, fun processing features, that kind of stuff doesn't always work out the way we want it to. We've got Keith, what's going on? Bought a 55-inch Hisense U8H, had a horizontal line from the top of the screen. I exchanged it. It's had the same one. You said, any idea what it can be? I have no idea. I have not run into that issue. If anybody has, definitely let them know what you think it could be. LG CS is not sold in the US, but here in Europe it is. I liked Panasonic, but they no longer sell in the US. I want to buy the LG C1 for gaming. Is it safe? I imagine you mean, is it safe, or will it get burn-in? I have not had any burn-in on my LG C1 whatsoever, and I've done tons of gaming and modding, so you'll be just fine. Again, that's not like some anecdotal statement. It's more like, when you look at the reality of using OLED, it just is not going to fall apart as fast on the newer ones as it did on the older ones, so you'll be okay. And again, I have a video kind of explaining that one as well if you need. I do buy a LG CS do I buy the LG CS, C2, or S95B? S95B all day, personal opinion, but I think that'll make you the most happy. Hey Quantum, have you figured out what happened to your Z9F soundbar unexpectedly doing the auto update? No, I literally just walked in and it was just auto updating. I seen it at like several percent. It was never on Wi-Fi. It's not on the Wi-Fi now, and honestly, I haven't caught it again doing it, but it did it. And the weird thing is, it's just plugged in. That's all it is. I mean, like, it was literally just plugged in. It's so weird. I have no idea how it did that. I'm not happy about it. I haven't even tested to see what happens because, frankly, I use my Samsung S95B as my audio system, and it's just kind of like, oh well. But no, I haven't figured that out. Panasonic plasmas were great. Had the ZT60 in a game room till it died half a year ago. We've got A90K versus S90C, 43-inch. Which one would you choose? Use case gaming, movies, and video. A90K. That's not even a comparison, dude. Like, the OLED experience on the Sony is just gonna destroy everything Samsung could possibly do. So yeah, just do that. Trust me, you'll thank yourself for it. It won't be as bright as the Samsung, but it also won't have the bloom fest that the Samsung has. So I think that's where you'll win. Now, a special note, I have not actually reviewed that particular model, so I can't tell you like all the ins and outs as to its performance metrics and things like that. But I can tell you that, objectively speaking, from what I've seen, Best Buy, things like that, it's much better than what I've just got done looking at. What do we went with the A90K? Yeah, that's kind of what I would do too. In my country, LG CS 55-inch costs $650 USD. S95B costs $1,000. Which one would you take? S95B. I still would do it. I absolutely would do it. Hey Quantum, I'm wondering what's better to buy now. Is it better to buy the LG C2 or the LG CS or the Samsung S95B? I would buy the S95B because quantum dots are a huge advantage, like a massive one. It's very vibrant and it does look very good. The brightness is really solid, and it's more or less what they're selling right now, and repackaging is something else. So just get the sale. Like, dude, I saw it literally at $12.74 for 55-inch. When I tell you my mouth hit the floor, I was like, bro, are you kidding me? I like way overpaid. Not cool. But beautiful thing is, you guys get a killer sale, like for 1,200, like a little over 1,200 bucks. Let's round up, say $1,300, even more or less, for that display. Forget about it. You are not finding a TV for $1,300 that can touch that TV. That's not happening. That I can confidently say for sure. I got an awesome little goat from Saskule. I hope I've said that correctly. Um, we've got all about TKK. What's going on, man? You're asking about the A90K from Kimar, and you said also good evening, chat. Good evening, TKK. We've got Owen. You said LGC1 black frame and has black frame insertion. We've got uh, I still have a Sony X950G. What do you think about it? Should I upgrade? That is actually low key like the last good Sony TV that they made. It wasn't great, but it is their last good one where things made sense. So I think in terms of like upgrading to now, you're gonna find that in most cases you're gonna be downgrading unless you go to their OLED line. So I wouldn't recommend doing that. Um, is the LG C1 a good buy in 2023? eh, I mean, it's not a bad buy, but we do have quantum dots entering the fray, and that does reintroduce the conversation. Now, I will say I did revamped settings for the LG C1, right? And those settings blew my mind because it made the C1 look way closer to the quantum dot OLED than I ever thought it could look. And in some areas, the benefits of WOLED, like the blue, for example, was just unmatched. So I think, is it good? I think it's great in 2023. I think if you buy that TV, especially on sale, I seen the 65 inch for 1396 or something like that. That's an amazing deal for a 65 inch, and you're not getting a better value for sure. Now, in terms of like cutting edge technology, quantum dots, that's obviously a factor that would be more impressive on the new one with the S95B, but I still think the C1 absolutely has its place in this world for sure, especially in the current market. What's going on, Adam? Thanks for being a member here. You said, "Hey Q, I have NVIDIA Shield with tone mapping and HDR. Any advice on how to get the best way to set it up and run smoothly with your GOAT SDR settings?" I still have the X900E. I don't really have an NVIDIA Shield, so I don't really have a whole lot of experience with how that particular device works. I can say you could just try my latest stuff to see if that works. Usually that's where I put like my best efforts and then like work back from there. But that's what I would say there. A shout out to Sam Hine. Thank you so much, brother, for donating 1999 and a woot woot. I appreciate it with your dancing controller. Super awesome. I appreciate you, man. Now I'm gonna try to scroll back up here. Just trying my best to get through and make sure we're answering everyone's comments. So that's what takes so long. So if you like make a comment and like it takes a while, don't like get discouraged. Uh, I'm not like another YouTuber out there. I genuinely do try to answer everybody. I'm not like just talking amongst friends. So bear with me, man, in terms of like what we've got going here. I think it's pretty cool because everybody's got questions. Like, for example, who is your favorite superhero, Batman or Spider Man? And I'm just going to have to maybe upset a lot of people by saying, I mean, neither. And here's why. I mean, I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, and I know it, but Batman with the whole like, I got parent issues and I'm like a grown man and I haven't grown out of that. And it's the reason I do what I do today. I mean, that's not really like something I can identify with too much. I'm just kind of like, yo, find the guy who did it and teach him a lesson, go Punisher on him or something, you know? I don't know. Or go The Crow on him. Who's ever seen that movie? The Crow, you know, the revenge story? Like, totally do that. But like to sit here and like be a vigilante, but like I'm afraid of guns and I have like restrictions, like they got no problem using them against you. You know, like I don't know, man. That ain't me, dude. Like I can't. And then Spider Man, no. I mean, it's a cool story, and don't get me wrong, I love both of these superheroes, but the idea, I don't know. It's just a spider bites me, and then like I'm now this like spider myself. It's all kind of a little creepy, a little bit, a little bit. I don't know. I'm more of the John Stewart Green Lantern. You know, Shazam is a really underrated story that they've totally ruined in the box office. I think, but his story would be really cool to tell. Um, as far as superheroes, though, I mean, like Supergirl, I really like Supergirl. That's a really good one. I think that's like a really tragic story. I think Injustice 2 actually did a good job of telling her story a little bit better for sure. So I think it's one of those things. Um, And thank you, Sam Hine, for being a member for 16 months. Shout out, man. You make it over the year mark and you're still rocking with QTV. I appreciate it, brother. And you say DC or Marvel is the easier way to answer. Oh, I mean, is it though? They both kind of cheated a little bit. They kind of like DC and Marvel both kind of lost their way. Like I feel like in the beginning I was totally more a DC guy. Like I just was like in some aspect I appreciated the Green Lanterns of the world, the Superman, the Flash, the stereotypical like, Wonder Woman, those guys. And then as time went on, I was just kind of like, you know what? I'm leaning towards more Marvel, like the Infinity War type things. But now it's just like now Marvel with She-Hulk and like you can't win. So I kind of give up when we talk about superhero movies because everybody kind of just put their hand in it and they were like, we know what fans want and we're going to do the exact and total opposite. So I just stay away from superheroes these days. Are you going to see Shazam 2? I haven't even seen Shazam 1 because like they really like I don't know what it is, but I saw the commercial and that stupid little dance that the backpack kid did that everybody was doing at that time really put me off. It just felt a little way too like Gen Z YOLO swaggins, and that's like totally not my thing. So, especially for a character like Shazam, like you could have made him like the coolest, most insane story ever, and you make him lame. Like, I get it, he's a kid, he's going to be immature, and I get it, you have to appeal to children these days, but that just it put me off, obviously, because I'm not a kid. So it just wasn't for me personally. Let's see. Hey, Quantum, should I buy a 55-inch A80J, X90K, or U8H? I mean, if you want OLED black, I would go A80J. Otherwise, I would go U8H because it's pretty close to OLED as far as the intensity of the black. You'll be very satisfied with that for sure. And I think that's just what I'd say there. C1 with your latest settings or A95B. What is an A95B? I don't know what that is. A95B current firmware. I don't know what an A95B is. Now, if you mean S95B, and that would be a different conversation. But honestly, I would lean more towards the C1. Oddly enough, if we're talking about settings to settings and that particular current firmware, I feel like the C1 is more powerful than the S95B with my settings. If those are the factors, like I've got a C1 with my settings locked in, and I've got an S95B with my settings locked in, but on the current firmware, I would just go with the LGC one because I personally like ditched the S95B after the current firmware. I could not after what I was seeing, so I wouldn't in good conscience tell you to do that. What's going on, Ari? It's been a while, man. You said what's up? What's up, Quantum? I'm looking forward to your G3 review when you get the TV. Hope all is well, bro. I appreciate it and definitely keep it locked. And hope all is well with you as well. I mean S95B, yeah. So I'm glad I kind of figured it was the S95B. So that's awesome. My budget is 1,000. I want a TV for gaming, movies. Any suggestions? I would wait. Now is not the time because we have TCL Hisense. I'm particularly looking at Hisense. I feel like they're going to do something really special for that price range. And again, we have to see what everybody else does this year. We're still kind of waiting for the models to launch, which I expect to happen late April, early May, around that time frame, for pretty much everybody to show up to the party. What was your worst Best Buy experience? Oh, we're asking great questions, aren't we? I think my worst Best Buy experience that I think I've ever had, I think it was more or less like I show up to a Best Buy. It was a recent one, actually. I'm ready to buy the Samsung S95B for the umpteenth time. And as I'm there, I notice that nobody really seems to care, right? And I have to almost chase them down for the transaction. And I'm like, okay, this is lame. I'm here. I've got money in hand. I'm going to pay it all off right now. I want a 65-inch. I mean, that's good money at the time, And I'm just like, I don't know why you're so indifferent about the sale. And it was a dead day. That's what really got me. It was a dead day. Nobody cares. They finally get on the Big Joe. They bring down the 65-inch, and they're just like, here you go, buddy. And I'm just like, no, the strap is cut. It's already partially opened. I want something that's like brand new. And then it became this whole, oh, well, we can't do that. We've got to order it. And it was just miserable. And it got to such a point where like it took them so long just to bring the TV down that I just was ready to walk away anyway. Like it was not great. It was a terrible transaction, and I think it just goes to show you that like even though you go into retail establishments to spend money, employees don't always care, right? Sometimes they couldn't care less, and I think that's just one of the negative things about retail that honestly has retail workers kind of being put out of jobs. Because my biggest thing is like you're already at a disadvantage because I have to drive to you, and then on top of driving to you, I have to what? Find what I want, lug it up the stairs. Like, why wouldn't I just order online, have somebody bring it to me, drag it inside? You know what I mean? And that's where I think we're going to see a definite shift in retail as time goes on because they never have anything in stock either. Like, I want movies. Best Buy is getting real bad with that. I don't know how Best Buy is near you guys, but for me, like Best Buy does not carry the movies I want. So I show up and I'm like, oh, I want a movie, and it's all trash. So yeah, I've kind of like fallen out of love with going and picking up things in store and whatever. Now maybe it's on purpose to push streaming services. I don't know, but I would much rather just buy online and get what I want that way. So hopefully that helps. We've got Hey Quantum, does getting a Samsung S95B suck now because of the firmware patched lower than the initial price? Yeah, it does. The firmware definitely is a factor. I returned it like twice because of that. I could not handle it for sure. We've got Sean. What's going on? You said in late days of Blu-ray slash DVD. He said DVD players, they peaked and backed off of upscaling. Any fears of that happening soon? I think in terms of that, I think we kind of already hit that. They all are, for the most part, not even mentioning that Blu-rays even exist. Even the 4Ks, they're just kind of like, yeah, get the digital release. Oh, also, if you're a piece of garbage, you'll buy it physically and own it forever. We can't control what you do with it and shut it down randomly and take all your rights away and make you repurchase the same thing on our next platform. But also, it's just it's terrible. It really is. So no, I think that they've already started trying to artificially peak things that don't need to be peaked because there's obviously a demand for physical copies, collector's editions, things like that. C1 does a great job of upscaling. 2023 TVs, are they comparable? I have to see more 2023 TVs, but so far the S95C is not comparable at all, and it is disappointing. How are those $50,000 reference monitors always LCDs if they can't reproduce black levels like OLEDs? I mean, I think one of the biggest misconceptions, like having actually been in a production studio multiple times where people are actually making small independent films and things like that, it's not what people think it is. People imagine like, and it's weaponized, by the way, which is why I get so angry. It's like director's intent. Like, dude, let me just ask your fellow YouTubers even. When we're making content, we do not make content off of the monitor that we pick. We make content off of our vision and what we're trying to do, our goal, like what we want to accomplish. Then we find the tools that best align with that. We don't really start off from a perspective of, oh, it needs to be accurate because that's my intention. Like, no, it's like we want to be creative in our works. And so this concept that like you now need to like be gear dependent or get what I call gear acquisition syndrome, where all you need is the most expensive gear and now you're the guy. That's the imposter syndrome, okay? Where it's like fake it until you make it. Like I have the most expensive gear, therefore I know what I'm doing, therefore I'm that guy. No, you're not. You're not that guy until you've put in time, you got the experience on the job, and then you're that guy. And for me, it's so difficult because it's just like I watch channels and I say this openly, not as a dig, but like I'm an AV guy. We all share the same interests. We love display science and things like that. And I'll watch the Whisper Statuses of the world, now Tech Therapy. I'll watch the Tech with KGs, the Classy. I'll watch the independent smaller guys. I don't really care too much for the larger guys, but I'll watch them too. The Digital Trends, HTTVs. I watch everybody, right? And as I'm watching, I try to see what they try to say in their creative style and their creative message. And the ones that focus so much on creative intent or director's intent versus creative intent, it gets on my first nerve because it's like, dude, nobody cares about that. When you're watching a movie, for example, pick your favorite movie you've ever watched. Do you really care if it was accurately colored to DCI and all this technical crap, or do you want a good story? And I think that gets away from people a lot when they talk about, oh, this is a $50,000 reference monitor. And when you're watching your favorite movie, you want something that was mastered on that so it looks the best. It's like, no, you just want a pretty picture that looks incredible, that makes you go, wow, I love this content. Now, again, that's why my philosophy with calibrations are wildly different from everybody else, because I just understand the way the human mind works, consumer marketing works. I get it, trust me. And when I say consumer marketing, I mean in the sense of when these things go to market, movies, for example, they don't go to market and say, hey, by the way, you should go watch Avatar 2 because it was calibrated to DCI-P3 and it has 100% color volume. It's advertised on its incredible story and its immersive nature. And that's my point. So again, I understand some guys are not necessarily going to get on with that, and they're going to be like, "Oh, that's just terrible. I like it that way." I'm not saying that niche doesn't exist, but we have to respect that it is niche and it's not the majority. And again, these $50,000 reference monitors and all this stuff, look, you just find the content you want, follow the waveforms. You don't ever need an OLED. That's why I get so angry, at least as far as production equipment. We have vector scopes. We can check all of this stuff with waveforms. If you know how to use these things, you never ever need to sit there on all this expensive ass equipment. It is unnecessary. It truly is. Now, it's nice for playback purposes, but in the creation process, when we're using zebras and all this other stuff to make sure everything is right on set, false color, we're fine. We don't have to go do half the stuff that people try to articulate in the AV space. And again, it's annoying because I truly understand the lens to living room part. It's frustrating, but I'll digress from that point by just ending you on that note there. I say creativity over like the pompous accuracy only, stick in the mud logic. Now, moving on from that, are you going to see Shazam 2? No, I think I got to that one. Spawn, like, are you asking if I've seen the Spawn movies? Because I have. I think it's a good movie in an essence, but it has been a while, so I don't really remember it that way. Did you see Black Adam? Yes, I did. I did an entire review on it, and I did a PSA that some people didn't appreciate about some of the demonic stuff at the end there. But be that as it may, I don't apologize for being myself or being religious in any aspect openly, so that's just kind of like tough. I don't really care. So, yeah. I have issues trusting Samsung. A lot of people have gone through a lot of S95Bs. Is the G2 more reliable? I haven't had the G2, but I would go out on a limb and say that the G2 would probably be a more reliable bet if you're not going with the Samsung. How do we get your settings? Settings are available by pressing the join button. Alternatively, you can link up with me and I have a link that I can shoot you and then you can grab my settings that way. LG C1 versus C2 with the firmware, with your firmware on both. I would go with the C1. Thank you for the response. Great channel and great content. Thank you, Pro2A. Hey, what's going on, Alex? We've got, what is the best time to buy a TV? Is it November, Black Friday? It depends on clearance days, but usually Black Friday is usually around the best time, ironically, or Super Bowl clearance events, things like that. Though that doesn't change that you can randomly find sales like now, like the 55-inch Samsung S95B for $1274. That's like wild. That wasn't the case during Black Friday. So, $14.99 was like the best we could hope for. Or $14.44, and now it's like $12.74 through some third party, but still very good because it's backed by Amazon. So what's the best brand for a TV right now? The best brand doesn't exist. It's more so like everybody just shows up, and each year we try to figure out what they took away and what they added. And that kind of information obviously is not on the box. But I think the most important thing to keep in mind with that is just like, we just kind of do what we do. I think brands are irrelevant. Look at features and what fits your life. If you're a gamer, a movie enthusiast, you watch news, sports, go into a sale with that in mind and see. For news, you're going to want processing. For DVDs, processing and noise reduction capabilities. For video games, you're going to want smooth motion capabilities, and movies as well. And just kind of flesh out your list and see with your own eyes what they do. Also, take a note of what you absolutely hate and don't want in your next TV that your current TV does, and your must-haves in your next TV. If you go with a list of must-haves, it's impossible to fail. You'll walk away with something that always will satisfy you because you checked everything off. Now, we can always learn new things down the road that excite us, But that's more or less what I would recommend. Instead of brand, go for what you need. About the Best Buy experience, I think that companies should give employees a percentage for every sale they sell. I mean, that would be nice, but that would inquire that they actually cared to give anything remotely close to a fair compensation for the amount of work done, and that's just never going to happen. Just mounted my A2 55-inch today, replacing my old C6 55-inch. There you go. We've got all HDMI all HDMI inputs on a C1 4K 120 hertz capable, or only HDMI 2. All are HDMI 2.1, so you still have the 120 hertz capability on every single one of those. You're good to go there. Tyler says, nice thumbnail. I appreciate it. Thank you. S95C, how long should I wait for the price to drop? When to buy? I mean, you can wait more or less, like, I'd say give or take, like maybe 6-7 months. Then you should see substantial drops around that time period. How far should I sit away from a 55-inch TV? Well, I think 8 inches, or not 8 inches, 8 feet is a good starting point. Some people try to say you can go like, maybe 6 to 7 feet. I like to start people off at 8. I think that's a more comfortable, more realistic distance to sit away. That'll give you a good amount of perception of what's going on, especially in the clarity department. Now, in terms on, our topic today, I just kind of wanted to round out the live stream by talking about, the fact that no matter what we do, we're always in some aspect going to end up being forced into doing something we don't want to do as far as compromises or whatever. But there's an undeniable correlation that when manufacturers invest heavily in OLEDs, the consumers are forced to move forward with that. And so I want to kind of give you guys a little bit in ways of steps that you can use to kind of get around that. Step number 1, get rid of the brand mentality. I know a lot of people think that, like, I need to search by brand. Like I was saying a second ago, make sure you're going in with your must-haves and your must-not-haves. That is the perfect way of winning every single time in this TV shopping game. And then on top of that, make sure that you're getting something that, as weird as it sounds, is aesthetically pleasing for your home. You don't want an ugly TV that, like, in a couple years you're going to hate, or maybe have an argument with your wife about how ugly it is, right? Also, something that works practically for what you're looking to upgrade to. So, for example, if like when you go to a bigger house, for example, or a bigger apartment or smaller apartment, you're going to want something that can travel with your life. Whatever your life situation is, you want to keep that in mind and plan ahead, because there's nothing worse than now you've got this big 85-inch TV and nobody to help you move it because maybe you got a divorce, or maybe your roommate moved out on you, or your brother no longer lives with you. Whatever the case may be, you want to plan for your life. Also, sound systems. You have to plan ahead on that. Make sure if you're getting something that's a sound bar, it has the ability to mount a sound bar underneath, things like that. The proper media consoles, your measurements, reflections, if that's something that you're really careful about and you care about. Every single thing, make sure you're planning. I think that's the best way to avoid being forced into buying something that the manufacturer wants you to. Because again, even though LEDs aren't always going to be perfect, there is eventually going to be something on the market that arrives at what you're looking for. And I think that's pretty much where we are. Now, that being said, I'm going to end the live stream here. We're pretty much at the 1 hour mark. So I just wanted to say thank you to Sam Hine. I appreciate you for being a member here for 16 months and for donating $19.99 to the channel. It really helps us out. And I also appreciate everyone stopping by and having fun conversations. I want to start also, just before I end, I want to start doing something a little different. So if you can remember, try this on the next live stream. I want to try to have you guys bring in questions about topics that are relevant to your life, things that you care about that don't necessarily have to be tech related. And we can start trying to have conversations about those. It could be literally almost anything, so long as it's obviously something we can talk about here on YouTube within the confines of the guidelines and the rules. But it literally at that point, anything's fair game. So if you want to talk about a TV show, game, superheroes, movies, doesn't really matter. I mean, this is my time with you guys to connect with you as a community and to just vibe with each other, right? To be like brotherly and sisterly, if you will, with, the women, brother and sisterly, if that makes sense. You guys get what I'm saying? And just kind of hang out with each other. So hopefully we can do that on the next live stream and just kind of hang out. And again, thank you everybody for stopping by tonight. God bless you all. Please be safe out there. Have fun and enjoy your families, because life is way too short. And as always, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. The number one brand in honesty. And until